on ESPN. The Lakers are at home against Sacramento. A win moves the Lakers into the 8th and final playoff spot in the Western Conference. 7:30 tip at Crypto.com. Congratulations to USC freshman Juju Watkins. She was voted Pac-12 Conference Freshman of the Year. The Compton native is also a first-team all-conference selection. She broke 3 USC records. Most points for a freshman was 751. Most points in a game, 51 at Stanford. And most games with 30 or more points, 11. The Chargers cut 9-year veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks to save $6.5 million in salary cap space. The former UCLA star lasted only 1 season with the Chargers. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough.
We just want to party. Just go. We just want to party. Just go. I don't want to die. Just breathe. We gotta dance. Dance and shake and breathe. We just want to party. Just go. We just want to party. Just go. I don't want to die. Just breathe. We gotta dance. Dance and shake and breathe.
This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping now. This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping now. This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Look how I'm living now. Police be tripping now. Yeah, this is America.
KBLA Talk 1580, it sure is, and we are talking politics today, all day, because it's the day after Election Day. We're going to keep you updated. Things keep changing. Yes, it takes a minute to count votes, especially in California, but anywhere that has mail-in ballots. And I am joined this hour by the Chief National Affairs Analyst for KBLA Talk 1580. He's a journalist, educator, and he is the host here on KBLA Talk 1580 of a show called A More Perfect Union. Comes on weekdays at 1 p.m. He's doing double duty today. He's been on Oprah. He's been a Washington, D.C. insider, and he definitely's got that L.A. street cred. Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. Happy Hump Day. Happy day after Super Tuesday.
Right, and I know you have a lot of insights. You spend time in Washington. You know them people. Anything really surprising on the national landscape? I mean, Trump thumped him. Biden, blew him out the water for the most part. And Haley's out. On the top of the ticket, do you see any surprises?
I don't think I see any big surprises. And just before we went on air, I just want to note that the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has endorsed Donald Trump.
I saw that
for president.
Does that really mean
And
anything? I mean, does that help Trump at all? He called for unity. I guess he's getting it.
Yeah, I mean, it means that Republicans are falling in line. They're falling in line, I think it's yet to be seen. But is it possible for Donald Trump to unify the Republican Party? One of the things that we should be paying attention to is that a lot of Nikki Haley's supporters, I should say the support that she did have, were mostly among moderate Republicans and independents. And today when she suspended her campaign, she was very clear that while she wished Donald Trump well, and she claimed to have always been a conservative Republican and has always supported the nominee. She said that her conservative cause needs more people, and that Donald Trump needs to earn the votes of the folks that supported her. And so, that is yet to be seen. Will we see Donald Trump tack into another direction, or will we see Donald Trump's greatest hits? I'm betting on the latter, but anything is possible.
Well, you know what? I mean, people have made a lot of the fact that she didn't win. She only won Vermont. She, was trailing and da-da-da-da-da. But the reality is she was getting a lot of votes. I mean, she wasn't a 1% and 2% candidate. She wasn't even a Robert Kennedy. She was, she was getting substantial numbers of voters. But do you think that matters? The other thing I thought that was significant here is that in exit polling, most of those Nikki Haley voters were saying they're not so much in love with Nikki Haley, they're disillusioned with Trump.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. And, just earlier this morning, I was talking to Terrence Woodbury, who's the co-founder and CEO of HIT Strategy, the public opinion research firm that really keeps their finger on the pulse of races like this and so much more. And he had made the point that if GOP delegates were distributed proportionally, Haley might be more competitive than what we've seen. And, that's without having crunched the numbers, of course. But look, the rules are the rules.
Yeah, the rules are the rules.
A lot of these Republican primaries, the winner takes all.
Right.
At least most. And with that, Donald Trump has been running away with this race. And Dominique, let me also just say that it's important for us to also look at what happened in Alabama. Remember, there have been a number of court cases about the gerrymandering in Alabama, with I believe it's the first and the second district. And there was a race last night where two incumbent Republicans sort of faced off, and it was a Republican that is a member of the House Freedom Caucus that actually won out. Caucus that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are a part of. And so, we're seeing not just Trump's grip on the Republican Party, but we're actually seeing evidence of the Republican Party lurching further to the right. Look at the candidate who won the gubernatorial race in North Carolina yesterday, Lieutenant Governor Robinson, who is Trump endorsed, who promises to usher in a MAGA agenda. And why is it so dangerous? Well, in North Carolina, Republicans control the state legislature and have a veto-proof majority. And so imagine, all of the damage that they can do. Imagine how quickly they can advance a MAGA agenda in places like North Carolina. And Dominique, remember, and I know, all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Yeah.
Right?
And
I
mean, that guy's
he's
like a Herschel Walker, right? He's like Herschel Walker 2.0.
Herschel Walker 2.0, I don't even think it amounts to that much. I mean, he is more disciplined, I think, than Herschel Walker. He is more steeped in the MAGA agenda. He is more of a reflection that folks in North Carolina, particularly in the GOP, can relate to. And so I actually think he's a bit more savvy than Herschel Walker was.
Which is pretty much anyone walking. But That actually sounds like much more dangerous, because it's what we thought Ron DeSantis was, right? Which is a more sophisticated person with the Trump agenda. Turned out he kind of fizzled out, but it sounds like that's what you're describing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've seen so many candidates out there try to out-Trump Trump.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the lessons this cycle, whether we're talking about Vivek Ramaswamy, or we're talking about Ron DeSantis, or we're talking about, a host of folks that went light on any sort of critique of Donald Trump, thinking that they would, endear themselves to the MAGA wing of the party. No, the MAGA folks, followers of MAGA, people that worship the MAGA agenda, they want Trump, and Trump is a phenomenon that has transformed the Republican Party, and that transformation is not over. And that is one of the lessons that we should glean from last night's performance during Super Tuesday, not just for Donald Trump, but for all the folks that are Trump endorsed, all the folks peddling in the MAGA agenda, seem to do pretty well.
Well, except for Alex Villanueva in Los Angeles, who got thumped by Janice Hahn. If you want some good news, he's like a mini MAGA, but that didn't go too good for him. But yeah, you're right. That is actually very scary. Wondering if I should even go back to for my family reunion in North Carolina this fall, because I don't like being in states where where I'm illegal. Even though
well we might need you to go back to reason with some of them and remind folks sort of what is at stake. Look, the GOP, they have a certain set of values, and they celebrate a certain tradition, right? That is at odds with people that identify as Democrats and independents, but my goodness, think about, women's reproductive rights, women's right to choose. Think about what that means in terms of gun reform. Think about what that means, in terms of, all the things that are holding us back as a nation from, asserting our freedom and living out our God-given potential, right? Lieutenant Governor Robinson is extremely anti-LGBTQ, particularly anti-trans, right? So, are we going to lurch not just to the right, on, fiscal matters, right? But, on, the very social fabric that allows us all to unite around one flag. I mean, it feels as if there are folks that are trying to rip us apart. And, we've got to ask ourselves, are we willing to let that happen on our watch?
I mean, we had that conversation yesterday on this show about how people are pointing the finger at Ghana because they've passed this law that makes it illegal to be LGBTQ. But I feel like we walk around with this mightier than thou attitude while state after state passes anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ plus legislation. It's not just Florida anymore. And I think we need to get off our high horse and sweep around our own front door.
I think you're absolutely right, and and I say this as a proud Ghanaian American, as a proud Black gay American. That the news coming out of Ghana from the Ghanaian Parliament was deeply concerning. The president of Ghana put out a statement and has not signed it into law. I understand that legislation is being reviewed by the Supreme Court of Ghana for its constitutionality. But there's an interconnectedness. I'm glad that you brought that up, Dominique, that, the anti-LGBTQ sentiment, the anti-LGBTQ laws that we see here across the United States, are not divorced from the anti-LGBTQ, efforts that are afoot in other parts of the world. So we were talking about Ghana, we're talking about Russia, right? We know that there are LGBTQ folks around the world that enjoy fewer protections than we do here at home, and these protections here at home, are under constant threat. And so,
right, and I also haven't heard
this election.
I mean, and I also haven't heard, Dr. Quartey, of trans people being killed all the time in Ghana. when it happens here all the time. So I just don't think we have the moral standing to be judging. I agree with you. We need to hold on to the protections that we do have, but I just don't think we're the poster boy or poster girl, for freedom and equality for LGBTQ plus people when trans people are being murdered every month in this country.
Yeah, well, but I think part of it is there are a lot of American conservative evangelicals, missionaries that are actually going to the continent.
Oh, I never thought about that.
And so I think we need to also consider that part of what we're exporting here in the United States, is anti-LGBTQ, attitudes and sentiments and beliefs to other parts of the world. And so, we know that, Black folks, for example, really sort of are at the forefront as tastemakers, as folks that are purveyors of culture, right? And we know that that has been exported around the world quite profitably, right? It's also true that, attitudes around LGBTQ folks can also be exported around the world. And some of those attitudes put LGBTQ people in harm's way, and some of them actually humanize LGBTQ people. And so I think that is America's part in this equation, to say the least.
It's a great time to call us, 800-920-1580. I'm talking with Nii-Quartelai Quartey, Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and you on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? My...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness. From my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
If you're looking for the most epic place on Earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
The thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it hurts to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. Only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price. However, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. Excludes 8-count.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision?
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm talking with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. And, yeah, that's a good point, Dr. Quartey. It's, yes, the Not So Super Tuesday was yesterday. We're unpacking it today. Votes are still being counted here in California and elsewhere. And on to November. Looks like it is going to be Trump v. Biden, even though everyone says they don't want that. You got what you got. Meanwhile, President Biden will give his State of the Union address tomorrow. How does that play into this whole landscape?
Well, Dominique, timing is everything in politics. And I think coming off of Super Tuesday, coming off of Nikki Haley's suspension of her campaign, and folks like Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell endorsing her and calls for unity among Republicans. I think President Biden has a unique opportunity to speak directly to some disaffected Republicans, folks who are never Trumpers, moderate Republicans that were looking for an off-ramp, and they thought that Nikki Haley might be that off-ramp from the Trump train. There's an opportunity for him to speak directly to them, as their president too. And I think part of what we need to hear from the president is a clear vision for the future. Thus far, we've heard the president talk about reelecting him to finish the job. And by finish the job, I mean the mess that he inherited, in the midst of a global pandemic like we've never seen before. And his job was to, get us out of that public health crisis, to get our economy going again, in addition to addressing some of the racial injustice, gross racial injustice that we've seen in policing, for example, right? And so that's an example of some of the work that's still yet to be finished.
Right.
But it can't be, hey, reelect me to finish the job. It's got to be, what's the vision for the future? And that vision needs to include something that moderate Republicans and independents can be a part of.
To be honest with you, Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, that worries me, because on the one hand, you've got, serious protest votes, right, coming from the progressive wing of the party, young people, Arab Americans who are very, very unhappy with what is going on in Gaza, right? But that what you're describing is a temptation, which to me is always what Democrats do, to pivot right, to appeal to the disaffected Republicans who more than likely aren't going to vote for you anyway, to appeal to the independents, which are usually nothing more than Republicans who don't want to call themselves Republicans, who are actually just calling themselves independent and voting Republican, the sort of unicorn soccer mom, and what it does is it makes, in my opinion, it makes the Bidens of the world serve people that aren't their base, which means F you black people. And I'm sick of it, and most of us are sick of it. And if the president does that, he's going to really see a huge erosion in his base. And, showing up to a church is not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the president has, a challenging job ahead to basically reignite that energy, reignite the Biden-Harris coalition that put them into the White House. There is a lot of fatigue among various constituencies that make up that coalition, and fatigue for good reason. We just heard Vice President Harris on Sunday during a Bloody Sunday commemoration call for an immediate ceasefire. Well, there are a lot of activists and protesters who've been pushing the administration to call for that for months, right?
But she was still talking about a limited ceasefire. She wasn't talking about a long-term ceasefire. She was talking about a pause in fighting, right?
But my point is that protesters and activists have been pushing the administration to call for an immediate ceasefire.
True.
Right? And this White House, this vice president, that I hear you, and publicly call for that. That was a big deal, right? And hat tip to all the activists and protesters who have been organizing in Michigan and Minnesota and California and so many other places to put pressure to get this administration to act differently, right? And so, I think part of what the president needs to communicate during the State of the Union, is that this White House under his administration, that they hear the people. That they hear the people. These are complicated issues. The United States, is a very powerful voice at the table. We're not the only table. You just heard the president yesterday say that basically, in order to get this ceasefire to happen, it's now in Hamas's hands, right? And so there are diplomatic efforts that are afoot that have led us to the point where there's a deal on the table. The question is Hamas going to sign off on that deal, right? We can't force them to sign off on that deal. And so the work of the activists and protesters.
But we could stop dropping
working.
bombs. You know what? We could stop dropping bombs. We could not wait until, children are literally starving to death to start dropping food over there. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
That's right.
Hamas controls
right.
things, Netanyahu controls things, but Biden got the purse strings. I mean, technically it's Congress, but, we can do more than what we're doing is what I'm saying.
No, I think you're right, and I think that's what activists and protesters have been communicating to this president and to this White House. And I'm a little confused as to why we weren't dropping food sooner,
right?
Because we've known this has been an issue it's been reported widely for a long time, for at least some weeks, and so let's give credit where credit's due. The activists and the protesters that are making their voice known and are saying ceasefire now, are saying do something more about this humanitarian crisis. We're starting to see this administration do more and act in that way. And that is a striking contrast to how a President Trump would handle this crisis.
I think it's pretty wild, since you mentioned the protesters, that this year is the Academy Awards got a huge fence going all around it. You can't go anywhere near it because they're afraid of anti-war protesters. They're afraid of, people protesting in support of the end to the war or whatever, the conflict in Gaza. So now the Academy Awards has become a fortress. I find that very ironic and kind of appalling, actually, that we're spending all of this money. It's coming out of the city budget, all these extra cops, all this extra fencing, because the Academy Awards might be disrupted. It's very Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It is. I mean, there's a lot of discontent that is afoot across this country and around the world. Just before we went on air, I saw that the Ukrainian president, there was a missile that hit an area maybe 300 feet away from where he was meeting with another head of state, right? And so there's a lot of unrest around the world.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that voters understand, that, if anything, we don't want to put a candidate in the Oval Office that will make matters worse.
That's a great point. Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, thank you for hanging out with me. I know you got to be right back on the air here at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey is on every single day at 1 p.m. on KBLA, and I appreciate you hanging out with me and helping us to unpack and understand what the heck happened on Super Tuesday.
Anytime. Thank you, Dominique.
Well, we always appreciate your analysis and your insights, and he's the main analyst around here at KBLA Talk 1580. I'm sorry, I have to wear my designer dress and my diamonds, and I can't be bothered with protesters, so let's spend hundreds of thousands in city dollars to protect me from the world. All right, Dr. Melina Abdullah is joining me next on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The first birth control pill approved in the U.S. for over-the-counter use will be available later this month. It's called Opill and was FDA approved for prescription use back in 1973. Studies show it's 98% effective if taken as directed. The pill will cost $20 for a 1-month supply, $50 for a 3-month supply. The Senate race in Texas will be a key in deciding which party controls the chamber after November. Texas Representative African-American Colin Allred will try to unseat Republican Senator Ted Cruz after winning Tuesday's Democratic Senate primary. Cruz is a top target for Democrats this year as they are fighting to hold on to their narrow Senate majority. The incumbent won re-election in 2018 by just 3 percentage points. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers are back in action tonight. The Clippers are in Houston. James Harden played 9 seasons in H-Town before moving on to Brooklyn. 4:30 tip-off on ESPN. The Lakers are at home against Sacramento. A win moves the Lakers into the 8th and final playoff spot in the Western Conference. 7:30 tip at crypto.com. Congratulations to USC freshman Juju Watkins. She was voted Pac-12 Conference Freshman of the Year. The Compton native is also a first-team all-conference selection. She broke 3 USC records. Most points for a freshman was 751. Most points in a game, 51 at Stanford. And most games with 30 or more points, 11. The Chargers cut 9-year veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks to save $6.5 million in salary cap space. The former UCLA star lasted only 1 season with the Chargers. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey Californians, are you ready to make your home ownership dreams come true? The California Dream for All Shared Appreciation Loan Program might be for you. First-generation homebuyers can get down payment and closing cost assistance along with a first mortgage to help you unlock the door of your new home. Applications open in April, so talk to an approved lender to see if you're eligible. Find out more at calhfa.ca.gov/dream or call 877-922-5432. A message from the California Housing Finance Agency.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vid. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Oh, this cold.
Honey?
Honey?
Honey, you need DayQuil Severe Honey.
DayQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a honeylicious taste. Because life doesn't stop for a cold.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
No, I'm getting a cold.
Honey.
Try DayQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu relief. DayQuil Severe with honey flavor. The daytime coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever, honeylicious, power through your day medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Tips to help improve your credit score in 2024. Establishing credit is an important key to achieving financial health, but building a credit history from scratch can feel challenging since you need credit to build credit. First, what does it mean to build credit? All consumers have a score between 300 and 850. You want your score to be as high as possible as lenders look at your credit score to make loan and credit decisions. A good credit score shows you have a track record of borrowing money responsibly. Remember, it's never too late to build or rebuild your credit. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The chat got me laughing. If you want to join them, go to KBLA 1580 on YouTube. They're funny and they're fun, and they're also really smart because they make a lot of good points. That's why I have to dip in and dip out. I'm being joined right now by a professor at Cal State LA. She's also lead organizer for Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and the director of Black Lives Matter Grassroots. Dr. Melina Abdullah, I should mention, is also my colleague. She hosts This Is Not a Drill Saturday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning, Dr. Abdullah.
Good morning, Sister Dominique. I'm struggling to say good morning because I'm not having that great a morning.
Okay, so we're going to start with the good part then, which is Black Women Are Divine, right?
Yes, let's do that. Yes.
Black Women Are Divine is an annual celebration that is based on, commemorating the life and the loss and the beauty of Breonna Taylor. But it's something that is celebrated in different ways by all of the 33 Black Lives Matter chapters across the globe, right?
Yes, so we call it a reclamation in the name of Breonna Taylor. So everybody remembers that in 2020, Breonna Taylor was a young Black woman who was sleeping in her home in Louisville, Kentucky, and police came in with a no-knock warrant and killed her in her own bed. And it hit a lot of us, especially, I think, Black women, really, really hard, that you can't even sleep. You can't even be in your own home and be safe. And so for me, the words of Zora Neale Hurston hit me, that Black women are the mules of the world. And almost as soon as those words came, I felt Spirit come and say, no, Black women are divine. They try to make us into mules, but we're actually divine. And so we've been celebrating Black women's divinity since 2020 in the name of Breonna Taylor. And we're doing that again on Sunday, March 17th, through a day of healing and arts and culture and just beauty and loving up on Black women.
Black Women Are Divine is super fun. I'm emceeing it this year. And I love that reclamation because it's really sad and terrible, the story of Breonna Taylor, but it's so beautiful to see women coming together and reclaiming our divinity and uplifting her and her spirit. And in that, it's different in every area. So if you're in another city or state, check with your Black Lives Matter grassroots chapter and see what they're doing. Here in LA, it's at Norman O. Houston Park, which I used to call the pot smoking park, but it's the park up at the top of the hill there, near Simply Wholesome and the Summit. And there's parking at a church nearby. It's all at Black Lives Matter LA, right? The website.
Yes, it is. And it'll also be posted on our Instagram. It is posted on our Instagram. So parking is actually at the mall near IHOP, because we know Norman Houston Park is beautiful and there's no parking.
Right. So you get a shuttle up the hill. They don't expect you to jog up the hill. You get a ride.
Right. Exactly. And it'll be a day where healers come. We have massage therapists and spiritual counselors and Reiki masters, and everything is absolutely free. We have free lunch. Who says you can't get a free lunch? We got Aloe Black performing.
Yay, I love Aloe Black.
Aja Monet, who's like one of the Grammy-nominated poets people who follow poetry know Aja Monet is one of the best. We got our own Yasmin Monet Watkins is performing. Our own Teo is performing, and everything. The only rule is if you are a Black woman, you can't pay for anything, and we do not want you doing any work during that event. So our brothers are coming and setting up. White women are coming and bringing us flowers, but we don't get to give. We only get to receive on that day.
It's really what I love. One of the things I love about is watching these elders, women we have women coming in their 80s, in their 90s, and you got these brothers just stepping up, walking them to their cars, bringing them lunch, bringing them flowers, getting them a seat. It's just heartwarming and fun and just love filled. So if you can make it on the 17th, I'll see you there. I'll be emceeing. What's the time frame?
So it's 11 to 4, and this is the second year in a row that you're emceeing. You were highly requested.
Yay!
There's no better divine Black woman than Dominique DiPrima.
Okay,
and
I'll take it.
So we're so grateful you said yes and that you'll host again for us this year. But it's going to be just a beautiful day, 11 to 4 on Sunday, March 17th in Norman Houston Park.
And there's a DJ and people dancing in the grass. I mean, it really is a fun day. And it's a really beautiful. So see, it is a good morning. Dr. Melina Abdullah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So now I'm asking you to put on your political science hat. And we have some questions in the chat. I have a couple lingering ones. I want to get your analysis, but let's go right to Dennis calling us from the South Bay. Good morning, Dennis.
Hey, good morning, Dominique. How are you?
I'm blessed. What's on your plate? What's on your mind?
My plate is, why are you a Democrat?
Wow, I could do a whole show on that. I represent the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. I guess because there's no Democratic Socialist Party that's viable in this country. Maybe, I don't know. Why do you ask? You want me to be a Republican?
Well, no, I would
that
probably
ain't gonna happen.
want you to be in it. No, I would think you'd be more independent.
You
I
mean
never
like
knew what
no
looked
party?
like
You
or-
mean no party preference, right?
Yeah, no
Yeah,
party preference,
yeah.
all about agenda.
Yeah. Well, I did
Yeah,
write in Cornel
because
West this time, but I probably will vote for Biden in November because I'm not gonna stand for Trump.
Well, how can you vote for a guy who fell on his face in broad daylight, fell down 6-7 times within the last 3 years?
That sounds
And you're
ageist.
going to put this guy.
That sounds ageist. Old people fall down. It's one of the things they do. He's old.
No, but not the leader of our country.
Okay. Well, so are you going to vote Trump? Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So you're criticizing me for voting for a guy who falls down when you're going to vote for a guy with 91 indictments, including sleeping with a porn star who covers his face in some kind of weird orange chemicals every day, who had to be sued twice by the government to let black people live in his apartment buildings, and on and on and on it goes. I mean,
All right.
So
Okay,
so
all right,
you're
I
not
grew
really
up
asking me.
back
You know what, Dr. Melina, let me let Dr. Melina Abdullah get in here, and then you can do your follow-up talking point. Go ahead, Dr. Abdullah.
So not for the same reasons as Dennis, because he sounds very angry. But I decided this year that I'm not a Democrat anymore, that I changed my party preference to the Peace and Freedom Party. And that was because, one, I live in California. I don't know if I'd do that if I lived in Florida or Ohio or Michigan. But, I live in California that's not going to go Trump, no matter how many times Dennis votes. It's not going to go for Trump, right? But two, I just could not, in good conscience, cast a ballot for Genocide Joe, which is what our kids call him, right? Genocide Joe. And I just couldn't. And so I re-registered as Peace and Freedom Party, and I voted for Cornel West in the primary.
I did vote for him as well. Sadly, he came in third under the Peace and Freedom Party so far, which is crazy. I
think he's second. He's second, and the last thing I saw on the Secretary of State website was that they were divided. Claudia de la Cruz was ahead of him by 60 votes.
He's moving up. He's moving. Yeah, he's moving up. Well, look, I wrote him in. Yeah. Okay, Dennis, your follow-up real quick here.
Yeah, no, I just don't see how you're a Democrat and you're pushing that agenda very hard. I don't think you understand the damage that illegal immigration is doing to the black community.
Here we go.
And I think you should listen. I think you should listen to the brothers and sisters in Chicago and their plight. Because
I see where you're coming from. Okay, thank you. Got it, Dennis. Thank you. Appreciate you. I do listen. I just don't agree.
You don't listen. You don't listen.
I don't listen. No, as soon as he said listen to the...
That gave me some humor to my morning.
Good. I don't listen. That right. Yeah. Well, it's just interesting. As soon as he said Chicago, I understood what's going on. He's one of the people that's mad at me for my conversation with Mark Carter. Okay, got it. We can agree to disagree. Just because I disagree doesn't mean I don't understand. It just means I don't agree. We got some more questions for you, Dr. Melina Abdullah, in the chat. We got some more phone calls, all that. Oh, and I would point out to Dennis, one that thinks I don't listen. Try calling to Sean, whatever his name is, Bill O'Reilly type shows. They're not going to give you 1 second. They are the ones that don't listen because they're scared of the truth. I'm not scared of you. I don't agree with you. It's not that I don't listen to you. I think you're wrong. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com.
Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
THE Health and Wellness Centers, celebrating 50 years since 1974 when it started as THE Clinic for Women. Then, THE Clinic for Women became THE Health and Wellness Centers, providing quality care for everyone. Learn more at tohelpeveryone.org.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
1455 Frazee Road, Suite 1050, San Diego, California, 92108. CordellCordell.com.
I spray and scrub, but the soap scum in my bathtub is still there.
I spray and scrub, but the burnt sauce on my stovetop sticks around.
Sprays can leave grime behind, but new Mr. Clean Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser combines the scrubbing power of an eraser with the cleaning power of Dawn to melt away tough messes on contact.
Just wet, squeeze, and erase.
Stop spraying, start erasing, and clean with more magic than ever with new Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
I wish you could be in the YouTube chat, Dr. Melina Abdullah. I know you're on the move. They are funny. They got jokes. Kwamel says Dennis makes the lamest excuse against Biden. Melina makes a more robust argument against Biden. Paul Lee says that's an op. And I have to agree with that. But anyway, Molly Bell wanted to know what you thought about Barbara Lee, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, and Congresswoman Katie Porter coming together to endorse Adam Schiff. Her argument is that Schiff never spoke out against Lee or Porter, and she would like to see Dems united. I'm a little peeved of his strategy of, spending tons of money to uplift a Republican in this race. What are your thoughts on that race and Molly Bell's idea that, they should solidify behind Schiff?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm not voting for Schiff. I hope that there would, last night when those votes started coming in and Barbara Lee came in, what did she come in, fourth?
Yeah, she only got like 7% so far of the vote.
Yeah, I think it's up a little bit this morning. Well, at least when I looked, it was at 10.
Okay.
But remember, there's two races, so I think she came in higher for the rest of the term than she did for the full term.
Gotcha.
So I think that is at like 8.5 for the full term. But it's still really, really disappointing. She's the only U.S. Senate candidate to say ceasefire. She's the only U.S. Senate candidate to talk about, let's build the Department of Peace. She has the longest record of doing social justice. It's really to see someone like Adam Schiff, who people know his name because, he was involved in the Trump impeachment.
Great at that. I mean, I think people have a good taste in their mouth from watching him to Trump.
Right. But we also need to think about what we're for. And so I was heartbroken because people voted for Barbara Lee. I voted for Cornel West, right? I was voting for folks. And we didn't have enough folks to be courageous and vote for something. And Barbara Lee should have been a very viable candidate. She should have been a top 2 candidate. And it's disappointing that she didn't make it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking. Yeah, I see 10% for the partial term. Why does the Peace and Freedom Party have 3 presidential candidates? I mean, between the 3 of them, they barely get 2,000 votes. Why can't they unite behind Cornel West? It's just irritating.
It was extremely irritating. I know that Party for Socialist Liberation, or whatever, PSL, the red and black shirts, I know that they were pushing Claudia de la Cruz. And unfortunately, it kind of came out as almost against Cornel West, which is very strange to me.
Well, some people are mad at him about reparations, though. I consistently hear that.
Yeah, but she's not been staunchly for reparations either.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly.
So if you're going to be mad at him, you should be mad at her too. I think it's kind of the factionalism that you see often on the left. You know my background, but my father was my biological father was one of those paper hander-outers in parks, and I saw his group, splinter from 10 people to 4 people to 3 people arguing in the living room, and we can't do that on the left. We have to figure out how to kind of unite behind someone to make them viable, at least on local levels, or at least to be an oppositional candidate who raises issues on a big stage.
But to Molly Bell's point, I mean, it's going to be more than likely it's going to be Adam Schiff versus Steve Garvey. So he doesn't even need Katie Porter and Barbara Lee. He's going to beat the Republican. This is California. It's highly unlikely that the Republican would come up and win that race, right?
Very, very unlikely. And this is why that argument of, a vote for a third-party candidate is a vote for Trump is completely untrue in California. California has never in recent history gone Republican. Reagan is an exception, but in recent history, California has never gone Republican, and it's a deep, deep blue state. It's not even close to purple.
Let's go to Morris, calling us from Inglewood. Good morning, Morris. You're on with Dr. Melina Abdullah.
Good morning, ladies. Listen, we're talking about Papa Joe being an old man. Oh, yeah, he's old for it. I got that. But you know something? I remember when people don't know this, Donald Trump wears a diaper. Donald Trump wears a diaper, and he relieves himself in his diaper. Donald Trump was busted getting up on air. Yes, that's the fact. Donald Trump was busted aborting Air Force One with toilet tissue hanging from his sock.
I remember that.
These narratives that are being promoted about Joe Biden being too old, he is an older guy, but Trump ain't exactly 25 years old, okay?